If you want to learn what the Ravencoin devs have been up to regarding the ASIC threat on the Ravencoin network, we're going to talk about it right after this. So let me get this out of the way right now. Not looking good. Pretty scary day, but you know, it is what it is. It's not down that much. It's not that volatile, but there's a few projects that got hit pretty hard. But I'm just holding like I always am. I'm not doing any trading, that's for sure. So let's get into the topic at hand here, which is Ravencoin and their ASIC dilemma or debacle, whatever you want to call it. This has been going on for quite some time in the Ravencoin community, where you know, I think it was January 29th. I don't know if that was, I think that was this year that they're referring to here, that there was still ASICs mining on Ravencoin. So it was luckily, you know, all the big features of the project, the messaging, the voting, rewards, most importantly, the restricted assets that we've been talking a lot about lately, those were implemented at the end of last year, and I think, no wait, that was earlier this year for the restricted assets, but there were other things that were going on at the end of last year on the project, and at the same time they were fighting this ASIC threat. So it's just kind of been brought up again. It has never really been totally dismissed, but you know, there were some other pressing issues at the end of last year. So now they are readdressing the ASIC threat, and this is just a post or a Medium article by Tron Black, lead developer for Ravencoin, and I just want to kind of chit chat about this for a little bit, because they're coming up with something that is actually going to be kind of cool, I think. So ASICs are not necessarily altogether bad. You can actually argue either way, but the fact is that ASICs and FPGAs dominating the network is never going to be a good thing for a project that values decentralization and a low barrier of entry like Raven. You know, in the beginning, it was GPU mining, well, CPU mining actually at the very beginning, that, you know, basically launched Ravencoin, and it's in their white paper that they were looking to always be ASIC resistant. It was the reason that the X16R algorithm was created in the first place. So there is, look, you know, you have to kind of be honest here. There's not really, you know, the community, the developers, the users, they don't owe the miners anything, right? Because the miners mine to get the reward, right? A lot of miners, some of the smaller miners are probably holders as well. Like they look to mine Ravencoin and hold, like I have since, you know, 3 or 4 months after they launched. But you just got to keep in mind that the community and the devs, they don't owe us anything as miners. But there is some level of agreement, almost like a gentleman's agreement, and a loyalty factor there between the GPU miners that support the project with their hash rate and the devs in the community and traders, you know, whatever. So I think I said that right. I'm a little foggy right now, but anyway, that's not really what this stream is about. This stream is more about the solution or the potential solution. So that's what I want to talk about more. There's there's been a lot of discussion on what Ravencoin should do about the algo and about the ASICs and all that. So that's what we're actually going to talk about. So let's get back into that part of it, and not talk so much about all those the minutia, I guess you could say. You know, I guess you can make an argument that right now, since it's so early in the project's life, that actually having ASICs and FPGAs, those farms constantly dumping and selling Raven on the market so they can pay their bills, is actually giving everyone time to accumulate Raven at a very low cost. I think it's still like 0.023 cents today, somewhere around in there. Because the cost of assets, like the main assets and the restricted assets, is super cheap because of that downward pressure that the FPGA and ASIC farms are putting on the market by selling their Raven on the market at cost, right? So not at cost, but on the market. They're just selling it on the market. And so you got to kind of look at it like that. That's actually a good thing. And it kind of highlights something with regard to Ravencoin. We are so early, so very early. This project is only 2 years old. Okay, that is crazy. Two years and a couple months. So we are still. It's still a very young project that we're all on the ground floor of, right? Even people getting into it today are still at the very beginning. And my point is that one of the reasons that Ravencoin was, or the reason that Ravencoin was created in the first place, was the creation and transfer of assets between users, and they've added all those security token offering capabilities that we've been talking about for the past 2 weeks on this channel. They've added those features in there and made it a really solid platform for launching an STO, right? Or other assets. You know, you could have there's literally the sky's the limit. Your imagination is the only limit with what you can do with assets on the Ravencoin network. And so point being is that with that downward pressure from the miners dumping on the market, or the ASIC farms and the FPGA farms dumping on the market, it has kept the value low, which we do care about. But if you think about it, it's kind of given us another opportunity, or more opportunity, or increasing the time preference that we have for Ravencoin, because I've talked about this a lot on the channel. You know, with regard to Ravencoin, it is one of those things where the literal reason that it exists is actually could potentially keep the price or the value low, right? Because the cost of assets, you know, 1,500, it takes about 3,000 Raven to create a restricted asset structure, and we went over that in previous videos. So if you're wondering what we're talking about, check out those videos, because I go through it pretty in depth. So it costs about 3,000 Raven, or it costs 3,000 Raven plus some fees and stuff. But imagine if Raven was $1. If the value of Raven was $1 and someone had to put up basically the equivalent of $3,000 USD to create a restricted asset token scenario or situation, right, from scratch. I mean, is that going to happen? Maybe to a financial institution or someone that doesn't care about $3,000, you know, $3,000 USD, that actually would make sense to them, because doing it any other way through paperwork or servers or however they would do it, could be more than that. So it's actually a bargain for them. But for people like me or people like you that might want to use Ravencoin for launching an STO, or tracking some type of real estate investment through tokenizing the asset that way, we're probably not going to do that, right? Unless we have a super successful business that can afford a $3,000 USD value hit there. So just my thoughts on that. It is literally inherent in the protocol, in the network itself, that is kind of a price suppression vehicle there, right? It just, I don't know. To me, that's the way I've always understood it, and it's always been one of those things that bugged me about the project. So it's still a solid project, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that it has that characteristic of constantly being suppressed. Now, the ASIC farms and FPGAs are definitely not helping with that, because they are also, you know, it's never just one thing. I say that all the time too. It's never just one thing. So those farms are also dumping on the market, which is also suppressing the price. I don't think the asset cost at this point is affecting the price or the value, because you can create an asset, you know, super cheap right now. So I don't think that plays into it at this point. And I don't think that there's a whole lot of uses out there of the Ravencoin network just yet. You know, it's still brand new, like I was saying a few minutes ago. So we just have to give it some time. Let's see, where was I in my notes here? So there's been like several rounds of discussions, and that's what this Medium article is about from Tron Black, lead developer at Ravencoin. There's been several rounds of, hey, what should we do? What algorithm should we go to? And you know, how should we handle this? And the original goals that he came up with, Tron Black came up with, was to keep the X16R variant because of roots, you know, just the roots of the project, you know, that loyalty thing that I was talking about earlier, okay, and also branding because, you know, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but in the very beginning, the very first thing that was released from Ravencoin, and they called it their white paper, was actually the X16R white paper. That came out months before the actual Ravencoin project white paper. And it was a little bit confusing actually, because people would look at it and go, this is like an algorithm white paper. This is not a project white paper. And it was a little bit confusing. So this goes back to that, you know, where it's in the roots of the project as far as, you know, being ASIC resistant. And also they were looking to, another goal would be to reduce ASIC to where it would basically be, if you were to create an ASIC for Ravencoin, you would basically be creating a GPU, right? That's a good goal because that sounds like ProgPow algorithm, right? Because that's kind of the goal of ProgPow. And then they also wanted to have an algorithm that isn't identical to another coin to prevent coin hopping and reduce security, which I think is also a really solid goal because you know, the value of the project would have to be pretty high in order to make it worth it for a manufacturer to develop specialized hardware for it. And if there is specialized hardware created for it, it would dissuade them from making it because it is only going to be used for this specific project, right? You couldn't put, if they were to create something like that, you wouldn't be able to put your device, whatever it is, your specialized hardware, your ASIC or whatever, on another project because no other project is going to use that algo. So they needed to make it specific and unique to the project, which is kind of what they did with X16R. There were some other projects using it. I don't think any of them ever really took off. Yeah, so that was just one of the goals that they had, which is a solid goal. So some potentials were, well, let's look at these ASICs real quick, just to show you what they were dealing with at the time. Now I think these are a little bit older numbers, but they're probably still fairly accurate, although I think that this price has come down on the InnoSilicon, and these are actually ETH hash, because one of the things that they were talking about doing, yeah, I'm kind of skipping that part, they were talking about possibly putting ETH hash as one of the algorithms in the 16 algorithm string, right? And but we'll get to that in a minute. But they in this article here, he wanted to talk about the actual benefit here, or the hash rates of the ASICs that are available. And you can see that, give me just a second, let me get something up on my screen over here. Okay, so you can see that the Bitmain E3 ASIC, it looks like it does 190 mega hash. Now this is ETH hash again, at 760 watts. And that equates to about 0.25 mega hash per watt. And which is about the same as a 1070 Ti. Now I'm talking mega hash per watt, which if you're doing your calculations correctly, that's what you should be focusing on, right? Because you want to know how much does it cost, how much electricity does it cost me to produce a hash, right? And in this case, it's basically for a 1070, that's 30 mega hash per second. At 150 watts, which is actually a little high, I think you can get a 1070 to do 30 mega hash way lower than 150 watts. But anyway, that is 0.2 mega hash per watt. So you can see right there that this, you know, a lot of people mention this too. Whenever this ASIC first came out, the E3 ASIC, they were saying it's just not really that much more powerful or efficient than GPUs, and they're right. It's really not. It's minimal, right? And Yeah, so the E3 ASIC as it stands right now, I think that they're ending on Ethash in April, I think. If I remember right. I don't know. We've talked about that on the channel, and there's been plenty of other YouTubers that are also talking about that. I think Red Panda had a good video on it as well. Now, I'm not checking the chat because I want to get through this info, so if you guys are over there chatting it up, that's fine. All right, let's see here. So the Innosiliconn A10, I think that this one is going to probably stop working around October, I think, September-October timeframe. And it appears to get 500 megahash at 850 watts. This is pretty dang efficient. You know, that's pretty good because it's 0.6, basically 0.6 megahash per watt, which is not bad. This one is a little scary, although the value, the cost, right? It is more efficient, but the cost, I think, like I said, it's down to 3,000. You know, if you were to buy this for 3,000, for example, you could build a rig that would be comparable, somewhat comparable, probably in the range. Let's see, 50 megahash, so that would be yeah, 1080 Ti's basically, right? So you could almost build a rig for 5,000. You could build a 1080 Ti, a 10x 1080 Ti rig. Most likely, it would be used 1080 Ti's if you could find them. But you could do that for $5,000. You might be able to do it for 4, maybe even 3 if you get a smoking deal, right? So you know, but the benefit of having a rig with 1080 Ti's is the fact that if let's say Raven goes to a different algorithm, or in this case Ethereum goes to a different algorithm, then you could put this rig on something else, right? In a Silicon you wouldn't be able to, because you would be stuck to the Ethash algorithm. So there are some benefits that you have to weigh, you know, whenever you're looking at this stuff. So another potential that they add, actually, yeah, they did go to X16R v2, and you can see the hash rates there. That rumored one that's significant because 680 mega hash at 800 watts is insanely efficient. But again, that's an X16R v2, which is what they're currently on. One of the proposals was X16RE, and this was where they were going to inject or they were going to replace or add one of the algorithms in the 16 algorithm chain to be Ethash. And whenever this was first brought up, you know, Tron was contacted on Twitter and Telegram saying, well, if you're going to do that, why don't, and because of how Ethash was being looked at the time, they were like, hey, why don't you just go and look at ProgPow? Now, originally he thought that there was a lot of problems with it. You know, he was given enough information here to actually start looking at it, and that's what he did. So we're going to get to that in a few minutes, but there were some other potential algorithms as well. One of them is AlterHash. XDAG16R is what it went by. But this one ended up being way too slow, and it would basically add a whole lot of hours to sync times, possibly even days. And I think that they probably would have ran into problems with mobile wallets and things like that. So I think that that's why this one wasn't looked at too hard, because of it not being very efficient. You can see right here where it said that they only got 66 hashes a second on a pretty fast Linux box. So they did some math, and you know, it would add a whole lot of hours to the sync time and possibly days on slow machines. So that one was looked at, but it just wasn't going to work for Ravencoin, I guess. Now, the latest information here is from yesterday, which is awesome. They are experimenting with ProgPow. I've seen some screenshots of it running. on the Ravencoin network, the testnet. And Tracy and Blonde Frogs are the ones that are working on this mostly, I believe. They probably have a few other people helping them out. But you can see right here where Tron is saying ProgPow seems to have a bad reputation, but the ideas and concepts are technically sound. ProgPow is basically a derivative of Ethash. It makes it kind of tricky to create an ASIC. You could do it, but like I was saying earlier, if you were to create an ASIC for ProgPow, one of the easiest, simplest ways to understand how this works, at least from a hardware perspective, is if you were going to create an ASIC for ProgPow, then you would basically be creating a GPU. You're not going to see a whole lot of efficiency gains because of how ProgPow uses each part of a GPU, right? Commodity hardware. So because of that, you could gain a little bit of efficiency in an ASIC. Now, I'm sure that there are, lots and lots of technical tricks that you could do, and maybe it would be worth it, and maybe it wouldn't for an ASIC manufacturer. Who knows, right? They would have to do the math on their end. But in general, if you were to build an ASIC for ProgPow, you would basically be building a GPU. So that is a good thing to remember whenever you're talking about ProgPow versus ASICs. So it looks like they are, let's see here, check my notes. ProgPow is heavy on memory access. This is from this article here. It does build a DAG, which is just a large random data set to draw from while mixing the block header hash. You can think of a DAG as a way to control or sequence the version of data being added to the blockchain when there are so many nodes on that blockchain and they're working on that same data, and they will be attempting to commit the data to the chain at the same time, potentially, right? I believe this is why you have uncle blocks and that represent actual work that's not accepted by the chain and things like that. It gets pretty technical pretty quick, and I'm not a dev, but that's just the way I understand it. The DAG, the directed acyclic graph, will change every X number of blocks. Currently it's set to 7,500 by the Ravencoin devs, but that might be something that they can change in the future, or they will change. They might modify that in the future. And here's some really cool stuff here. This is what I like about the Ravencoin community and the Ravencoin devs. All right, they have a little sense of humor too here. Let's see. So ProgPow is going to be tweaked in order to make the algo unique to Ravencoin, right? Which, if you remember, one of the goals of the algo change originally was to have the algo, whatever it is, be unique to Ravencoin. And one of the cool things about ProgPow is being able to modify. It's like a framework, right? It's not, here is your packaged algorithm and this is how it has to run and this is it. They made it to where it's configurable in some ways, right? There's different options that you can enable or disable, and make it fit your particular requirements closer. So it's like a framework, not a closed, algorithm, like single file algorithm, I guess is the way to look at it. So it's modifiable. You can actually tweak it, and that's what they're going to look at doing or that's what they've done for Ravencoin. And then something else that kind of hung them up a little bit was the wallet issue, right? The mobile wallets and being able to validate the blockchain on a mobile wallet, because I think it's in here where they talk about an SPV. So the wallet that we have for Ravencoin is the Ravencoin wallet, mobile wallet, is an SPV, which is Simplified Payment Verification. And it's just how the wallet validates the blocks. And in the case of SPV and the Ravencoin mobile wallet, it does validate the blocks, right? So it's harder to compromise the chain with a mobile wallet like you can in some other projects. And so that was one of the key things that they had to make sure that they kept, or they were going to have to change the mobile wallets into like an API based or some other way. So that was something that they were actually considering as well. Not considering going API, but I'm just saying that it's one of the factors that played into what algorithm they use. So they are going to, for the tweaks that they're going to make to the algorithm, they are going to consult with the originators, if def else, of ProgPow, and the derivative will be called KAAWW, KAAAWWW POW. And right here, Tron says, if for those that think this has too many A's and W's, the simple answer is that you cannot have too many A's or W's. That's definitely dev humor right there. So, in case you're not familiar, if you're not in the Ravencoin community, so to speak, call is kind of like our call sign. I don't know. It's what we say. Like if someone posts a meme or a cool information about Ravencoin, a lot of times you'll see people commenting KAAWW, KAAAWWW. So it's kind of like it's just a Ravencoin thing, I guess. So the concepts. This is what probably is this hurts Tron a lot, I think. But the concepts behind the X16R will be dropped because he just couldn't make a strong enough technical argument to keep them, right? Basically, the strongest argument would be marketing, the white paper, the X16R, the anti-ASIC, the ASIC resistance, and all that stuff, right? All that's got to go now. It's got to go out the window because they're changing the algo. It seems that on a GPU, KAAWW will run at about the same speed as 16 algos chained together. And that means that inserting it somewhere into the X16R mix randomly, if they were to try to do that, then it would just completely destroy the time profile because it takes the same amount of time to do that one algorithm as it does the 16. So that wouldn't really work that well. And Tracy, one of the devs, he's got a working version of KAAWW algo on a GPU miner on testnet, and it's showing like a lot of promise. It looks successful. He's also developing a stratum for pool mining by the community. It looks like, and it looks like most likely the fork is going to happen sometime in April if all goes well. So that is like really soon, right? That is pretty impressive that they could get together a new algorithm and have it ready to get into a fork in what appears to be a month. It's probably a little bit longer than that, but it looks, it's not much more than just a month of work. So that is significant kudos to those guys for making that happen. So he's also developing a stratum, like I said, for the pool mining. So Tron describes, I thought that this was a good way to end this, hopefully end it anyway. Tron describes KAAWW as a variant of ProgPow with slightly different hashes before and after, or before or after, and a few minor tweaks to the fixed settings so that KAAWW is uniquely Ravencoin's algo. The custom parameters are still in discussion, like how they're going to modify it. The goal for those parameters are to make the algo distinctly Ravencoin. Like I was saying earlier, it's kind of like ProgPow is a framework, so they're using that framework to design something that's unique to Ravencoin. And they're going to try to keep the best qualities of the base algorithm. The details of the minor tweaks have been locked down yet. That's going to come probably closer to the fork date. If all this gets implemented, it'll be probably in the middle of next month. And there was a recent exploit, a ProgPow exploit that will be addressed in the release of ProgPow for Ravencoin, or KAAWW. So this exploit by Kik that was discovered by Kik that talks about an exploit on ProgPow. This is going to be fixed on the Ravencoin version, so we don't have to worry about that. Whew, that was a lot of talking, but I'm actually done. That was like the end of my little notes and what I was gonna talk about. So let me see what's going on in the chat here. Yeah, let's go and check the value real quick. Let's check the market, see what is going on over here. See what Ravencoin is doing today. So 0.02, it's pretty close to what it was yesterday. It was 0.023 yesterday. So it's lost a little bit. Yeah, not too bad though. What's up, Ryan Wrong? What's up, Charlie Don't Surf? Deadwood, Felipe, what's going on? What's up, Nefarious? What's up, Ronus? What's up, Nero, Ozzy? Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate it. Let's go and see if Brandon is live here. I don't know why I didn't just click on it over here. Here we go. All right, so he is premiering Solar Mining updated plan. Uh-oh, Solar Mining. So let's go and check that out. I'm going to head over there. I will see y'all over there. Make sure you let him know you came from my stream over there. You can put the hashtag Savage Raid into his chat over there. And yeah, so tonight was a little bit different than previous nights, recently anyway. We didn't talk about you know, the security token offering, that whole project. I felt like this was something that we needed to talk about. We needed to cover it, so I went in and threw this in here. Plus, I was messing around with the messaging and voting and all that on the Ravencoin network, and I'm just not getting it just yet. It's not sinking into my thick skull. I will get it, but I'm just not. I'm either doing something wrong or I'm just not understanding how it works just yet. So still gonna look at that. That's probably, let's see, tomorrow's Thursday. That's probably what we'll go over tomorrow, is a little bit more of that, the STO, the security token offering, and then I'll see. I don't know. I'll see what we'll come up with. So that is going to be it. I'm going to get out of here. I will see y'all over in Brandon Coin's premiere. Make sure you hit the like on the way out and all that stuff. Subscribe if you haven't already. It helps out the channel. Also, keep the conversation going in the comments. Let me know what you think about ProgPow or CallPow. Let me know what you think about that. I'm interested to know what you guys think and see how that's going to work and whether or not you think it's going to work. Yeah, so it's interesting stuff. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Everybody head over to Brandon Coin. I'll see you over there. Stay savage, everybody.